To the children of Lyra, scattered throughout the galaxy near and far, may you remember your heritage. So welcome to this raw video, another raw video, where I'm going to talk all about Lyra and who the Lyrans are, and a little brief history on them. And I'm going to be channeling some messages from some benevolent spiritual Lyran beings that I'm connected with. And yeah, I'm just gonna also describe some of my beginnings and awakening to my cosmic roots and heritage to Lyra. And I really hope and believe, really, but definitely hope that this inspires a lot of you, encourages and empowers a lot of you who are just now seeking this type of information and seeking to connect more with your galactic family and cosmic roots. I hope this empowers you, encourages you, and sets you off on your journey of exploration. And to those of you who have already made the connection to various star systems that you feel your soul is from, or whether you feel like your soul or you've had many lives in Lyra or the Pleiades or Orion or wherever, I trust and hope that this video gives you that affirmation and just a little bit more knowledge and maybe some new information that you didn't have before. So yeah, that is what this is all about. And so I'm just gonna dive right in. I am redoing this intro, the beginning here to this video, just because a couple of reasons. But the channeling portion is gonna be from yesterday, the previous day, whenever I filmed. And yeah, so I guess I'm going to start with making this recommendation, especially for those of you who are, like I said, new to exploring your cosmic roots and your galactic lineage, or for those who just want more in-depth knowledge. This is good. It doesn't matter if you feel a strong connection to Lyra specifically, or to, like I said, other star systems, shoot, Scorpio, Virgo, Pleiades, wherever. This is a great read, and it's definitely helped validate me and empower me, and just confirm a lot of things I've felt within for a long time. And I have been making connections to my galactic lineage and star family for a few years now. Those of you who follow me on my website, the silversphinx.com, you know that I wrote a blog that is basically based on this, a little more sort of beginning stage, before I became more aware of specifically my roots and strong roots to Lyra. But yeah, I've kind of updated and elaborated on that blog that I released on my website. And let me just go ahead and point it out to you here, because I'm not going to have time in this video, I can already tell you, to go over a lot of other details and facets and pathways, because there's just so many pathways and subjects that I could take you down on while exploring this topic. So, I'm trying to stay somewhat focused. But just so y'all have another reference and point of information, boom, here you go. And this is, because it's a blog, I feel like I can structure things a little better myself whenever I write them. So yeah, this one, the Earth Alien Hybrids and Enlightened Ones, Physical, Astrological, and Psychological Signs. So, I might touch base on some of those things throughout this video or this introduction leading into the channeling that I'll be doing. But going to keep it very sort of short. So if you want more detail on those signs to look out for and making those connections and synchronicities for yourself, that would probably help you a lot. So anyways, briefly, my beginnings really started simply looking at the night sky. I believe it was 2019 or around 2019, whenever, just one winter, I was outside studying and admiring the stars, and I was really connecting with Vega. And, Vega is one of the brightest stars in the night sky, and it's connected to the Lyra constellation. And at the time, I knew nothing really about Lyra. I didn't know much about star constellations besides the 12 zodiacs. And so it was new for me. But I saw Vega, and I got the Star Tracker app, and I pointed it at the sky, and it showed me that it was a part of the Lyra constellation. And then I went down the rabbit hole of exploring, because I just felt this energetic connection and familiarity, and just this past life sort of connection. And so I was like, okay, what is Vega all about? What is Lyra all about? Let me see what information I can find out there about this. And so, the more information I found about the star constellation, it just resonated and synchronized, matched up beautifully, perfectly with all these other connections I was making as a psychic in my personal journey, and where I've sort of come from, and where my soul has evolved and grown from and reincarnated from. So, and like I said, I go more in depth in my blog about this, and I really do think it would probably help a lot of you guys just to help make the connections yourself. But anyways, astrology confirmed a lot of things for me, having strong Leo placements and feline placements, because, Leo's ruled by a lion, by a cat. That alone, the Egyptian zodiac also verified those types of things and traits, but also it took me a little deeper with just the goddess Bastet and who I'm associated with according to the Egyptian zodiac, and what Bastet really represented as that black cat image archetype, and how it just all correlated to my astrological chart, my personal chart, and then all these other synchronicities and signs I was getting from researchers that were matching up with my life, and not just my astrological chart, but just my psychology, my journey, and some physical signs, physical symptoms that I've had. And it just all started matching up, and it all sort of basically took me back to Lyra. But I was a little scared and nervous in the beginning to be like, oh yeah, I'm from Lyra, where I'm a Lyra hybrid extraterrestrial being, it just, at my beginning stage, I wasn't exploring too much or reading too much into extraterrestrial life and going down that kind of route. And anyway, so I expanded on all of that, of course, since 2019 or whenever specifically it was, I started really awakening to this and learning more about this. Yeah, so I guess that's kind of roughly where my beginnings started, and just how I started building, off the information and making the connections and seeing the synchronicities for myself, and how this really applies to my life, my connection to Lyra. And so we're going to get into now a little bit of the history of Lyra and what kind of beings are on Lyra, what they kind of look like. Excuse me, it's morning time and it's still coffee time. So, okay. I don't have my contacts in, sorry, I'm just like looking at my time. Okay. I don't want to make this video too long because that was partially my mistake with the introduction portion of this the first time, but yeah. So beautiful Lyrans. The agreed upon narrative, which is sort of touched on in this book, The Prism of Lyra, but also by other researchers and ufologists and spiritualists, is that the feline archetype, the feline humanoid being, originated and comes from Lyra. So not only does Lyra have feline type beings, you know, Lyra does have, or did have, humanoid beings that looked more like us, more like humans. But yeah, the feline being and feline humanoid sort of being is there and originated from Lyra. And so, at this point in their evolution, development as a species, most of them anyway, have really evolved and grown, and they're at a point where they're a lot closer to their light bodies, and so their physicality isn't quite the same as like us in our 3D dimensional, 4D dimensional timeline that we're in on Earth. So, you know, it's a little different, but they still have, a lot of them to this day, linear time wise, they still have like a physicality to them. And that's why I think it's also important to describe to and give you a picture of that, of them. But anyways, so the Lyrans are said to have been the first to inseminate Earth, to seed the Earth with humans, to create basically human life, us. So the Lyrans, the beautiful beings from Lyra, are really our forefathers. They're our creators, genetic engineers. Now, I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole too much with this, but yes, you know, most agree, of course, that we have genetics from, we've been genetically tampered with or manipulated by all kinds of higher beings or extraterrestrial races, Orions, Pleiades, Sirius, but the Lyra system and Lyrans are the founders, is the term the book uses. And that resonated with me so much whenever I first read that. I was like, oh, this explains that really old soul energy that I feel that I am and whatnot. And throughout my life, everyone has told me that. I've had old people, my grandparents tell me I'm, you know, such an old soul, yada yada, and it's one reason why I'm doing this type of work. You know, this type of spirituality, psychology, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, so they were involved with Earth and Earth's insemination since the beginning. And they did, a lot of them lived on our planet for a time. And the book goes into more detail about this, you know, so again, you'll recommend checking that out for more details on the history that is, yeah, at least come through from that perspective. But yeah, so the Lyrans have an interest in Earth, in humanity, because they do feel like, you know, our family. They are our family, our parents in a way, you know? And so they're, you know, they're interested, yes, in our evolvement, our growth, but they also understand, you know, of course, that we are responsible for ourselves, and they can only interfere, of course, so much. And that's, you know, a common thing, especially with spiritually evolved beings, where, you know, they know they can't intrude or invade, so to speak, with development too much. A lot of these species, like the Lyrans here, did make some mistakes like that in the past, with too much genetic tampering and whatnot. And yeah. So, anyways, the Lyrans understand where we are as a collective, as humanity. They understand, especially these challenges and the turmoil that we're facing and entering our new timeline, density, age, new age. Like, it's all the same thing, you know, Aquarius, Leo age that we entered, the fourth density that some refer to it as. It's all the same thing, but, you know, graduating to this point, they understand and they know what it's like. They've gone through it themselves, this ascension period. And so basically, a lot of the karma, a lot of the trauma, a lot of the challenges that are showing up on Earth with humanity within ourselves can be traced back to Lyra and what happened on Lyra. What they went through as a species and their growth and evolvement. And it really boils down to polarity. Polarity, duality, yin versus yang, you know, feeling separate and disconnected. So Lyra went through a few different wars. There were wars and fights amongst themselves, of course, amongst the Lyran races and factions. In fact, it did get so bad where, you know, here's an example of the polarity that played out and caused dissension and, you know, bitterness and, yeah, just issues with them, where they had to separate. Was one faction of the Lyrans wanted to focus more on the more of the masculine type principles and yeah, we'll just say that, more of the masculine type principles of life, you know, more outward focused, physical, more explorative and driven, and more forceful, you know, thinking of the masculine sort of dynamic and principles. Then there's the other faction of Lyrans who left and moved to Vega, you know, that star and that system that is within the Lyra constellation, but they went to Vega, where they focused on the feminine principle and reality. So we had more of a masculine reality, feminine reality, and with that more feminine and inner reality, they focused more on spirituality and more of, you know, energetics and mysticism. And that's where a lot of the sort of magic and supernatural abilities formed, with Lyrans, with the Vegans, because of that breakaway civilization. And then their focus was to reunite and remember their connection to source, to God, whatever you want to call it. And so that was more their focus. And then, you know, you had the Lyrans, who were more the masculine, who were exploring and developing more technology and a little bit more domineering, I guess, you know, we would say. So anyways, there were these different mindsets, and they could not come to a point of unity. You know, they could not come to an integrative point. So they had to separate in order to at least keep peace and to stop the war and fights, right? So it did get worse for Lyra. And some of this information I sort of downloaded from the Lyran beings I'm connected with. And then some of it has been verified by other information and sources like the book and whatnot. But it got worse for the Lyrans. They were invaded, and this is the big turning point for a lot of them, where they were invaded by the draconian reptilian species. And this is a type of reptilian species from Draco that is very much expressed in the very much negative expression, a negative entity, as most of us know already. So they invaded and really, you know, they caused a lot of harm and chaos. And the story is that they destroyed actually one or more planets in the Lyra star system. So there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of trauma, and yeah, hurt that is still within the Lyra system. And it's within our DNA. Most all of us have connections to Lyra since they were the founders of Earth and seeded Earth. Some of us have stronger connections to Lyra, some of us have stronger connections to the Pleiades, and so on. But yeah, so we carry some of those karmic patterns in our DNA, those traumas, those feelings that is carried over into Earth, on Earth. And we're seeing it play out the same way that the Lyrans saw it play out within their civilization, within their societies. And then when the outside force with the draconian reptilian species came in to invade, of the polarity, of the dark versus light, of the yin versus yang, of separation, segregation. And we're seeing this still being healed and playing out on Earth. And this is, it all goes back to healing this and working on finding that, what's the word I'm looking for? It, oh my gosh. I can, starts with a C. Anyways, but that unity point, you know, that conscious, unified consciousness, you know, that is the point where we meet and where we find peace and where we truly heal and transmute past all of that karma. I mean, yeah, what we're seeing play out on Earth, what we're seeing playing out on Earth with this duality, polarity, it's much deeper than just Earth. It's much deeper than just politics, you know, Republican versus Democrat, male versus female, and black versus white. It's bigger than that. It started with our cosmic family. It did. And so this is something that we're having to, yeah, just address and heal. And we're very much at a tipping point. Very much at a tipping point. But yeah, so I think that is basically it, as far as some of that history that I wanted to share. Oh, well, I mean, I guess, kind of want to mention, and the book again talks more about it, where, some of it, especially because of the war, the big war that happened, and trauma and killings that happened with the Draco invasion, a lot of Lyrans had to migrate and travel to other star systems, like the Pleiades and Sirius. And that did cause more fragmentation and differences, and, having to come back to balance and unity and integration, having to find that point at which all meets again. And, but, this is something specifically with those people, some of you viewers watching, who identify strongly with Lyra or other systems, but definitely with the Lyran system. You may have always had this subconscious feeling and fear of being hunted, of being found out. And I saw this in a Facebook post, actually. It resonated so much with me. Someone who was talking about the Lyrans and the psychology that might reflect your connection and, whatnot. And, a lot of these hybrid Lyran type souls and beings, we have this fear of being found out and hunted by the Dracos, the Draco reptilians. And so for that reason, a lot of us have been fearful of coming out, so to speak, of putting ourselves out there, of reconnecting with our star roots, of being vocal about it, of putting it out there and sharing it, because of that trauma and feeling like we might be, like I said, hunted down or killed, just there's that there. So you might have always sort of felt that, and that might have always held you back. And in some ways that's by design, by negative entities, but also just of that fear that's been developed within yourself. And that's something that we have to go within and, of course, address and come to peace with and nurture and whatnot. And it starts with awareness, doesn't it? But yeah, so I did kind of just want to point out that psychological sort of sign that some of you might identify with, and it might affirm, your connection to Lyra, or some of these other star systems that have some similar sort of background. So yeah, I think that's it. So yeah, if you want some more details on the astrological, physical, and psychological signs, check out my blog for sure. And of course, this book. But yeah, let's go ahead now and delve into the channeled reading. And since I'm redoing this video, this introduction video here, I wanted to point out, because after I channeled with these Lyran beings, I asked what their name was, if they had a name that I could identify them by, that you guys could associate them with, because here on Earth we need names, and sometimes those physical representations, we just do. And it was fascinating because what they gave me, their specific group, unit, is called the Rays of Prometheus. The Rays of Prometheus. And I just thought, not only does that sound really cool, I looked it up because I was like, what is Prometheus again? What does Prometheus represent and everything? And so whenever I re-informed myself of what Prometheus represented, in Greek mythology, right? Greek mythology. the hybrid. He was a hybrid being, or a demigod, you know, which is the same thing as a hybrid being, really, um, who stole fire from Mount Olympus, right? And he brought the fire back to Earth, gave fire to humanity. And isn't that just beautiful and magical? Because the Lyrans are very much associated with and have a strong connection to the element of fire and light, because they, like I said, most of them now have evolved. They are higher beings, a lot of them sitting in that sixth density, which I'll go into in the psychic channeling. But anyways, just so I was just I don't know, I thought that was super cool, and I might explore that more with you guys in future channelings with this Lyran unit group. But yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get to the channeling. But yeah, just to get this channeling and messages, conversation with the Lyrans here facilitated and initiated. Let's go ahead. Let's see. Feel free to just join in by taking a deep breath or 2 or 3 with me. Okay, so first card message here that is coming up from Lyra in the present, which I love seeing that. It is a present card showing up. Arrogance. So this is definitely talking about more of the human race, where we are on Earth, where we're at right now on Earth, in our evolution, in our evolvement. Arrogance being a blockage with us as the human race. Arrogance, ego, very much ego and arrogance. And not just arrogance, but ignorance. You know how similar those words are? Ignorance, arrogance. I mean, arrogance basically comes from ignorance in a lot of ways. We have to wise up. And making more of our star connections, making more of the connections to our cosmic roots, to our lineage, our galactic lineage, is going to empower us, and it's going to shift that mind and heart-based thinking. It's going to bring it more into balance. But, you know, this Lyra card is talking about too. Lyra was here. Lyra came from this. As far as timeline-wise, they were here once upon a time. And, you know, interestingly enough, too, the numerology that's speaking, because 18 reduces to 9. And 9, especially like in the tarot and stuff, it's represented by like this kind of chaotic, intense energy. And number 9 is a number representing ending and destruction, because it is the last single digit. And so, you know, we are at this point where we are deconstructing and destroying and ending a lot of patterns, cycles, systems that have been outside in the physical world, sure, but it's internally. We're breaking those thoughts and patterns and limited thinking or breaking through those boundaries. And then, you know, this is very much showing up physically, of course, in our world with a lot of the systematic changes that are happening and whatnot. But yeah. This card and the messages from the Lyrans are saying, don't forget, though, to hold on to your pride, to still have pride, to still have ego, to still have that sense of self. You can't just forget it either. You just don't want it to be in its extreme form of extreme, where it's expressing arrogantly and egotistically to the point of harm and imbalance. This is the kind of attitude and whatnot that has gotten us to this hierarchical thinking and hierarchical system that rules our world, at least for now. And we are seeing the deconstruction of that. We're realizing that we don't have to answer to one human or to a corporation or to a government. We can just answer to ourselves. There is a spiritual involvement where, and it does boil down to trust as well, trusting each other enough to be able to do that, to make our own choices, to break free from the system, to operate outside of the system as we have known it. We, in order to get to that place, to that point, we have to trust each other. That is that interchange that has to happen and but there's a lot of blockage, and there are some outside forces as well as just our own resistance that is preventing, you know, this trust and therefore spiritual ascension and evolvement. But trust, definitely the message from the Lyrans to coming through is really learning how to trust each other. Trust each other. The reason why a lot of people don't trust their neighbors, so to speak, is because of fear and trauma and programming. And we have to be able to trust each other. Just because one person did a negative thing that hurt you, did something that caused harm, doesn't mean that the next person or your future is going to look like that as well. Trust each other. It's like trying to get back into a relationship, right? Like an intimate relationship. You have to learn to trust. Like if someone in their previous relationship was physically abused and they're trying to build a new relationship, but they don't have that same trust because their last relationship where they were physically abused by their last lover, they lost that trust, right? Because of that fear and that pain. You have to transmute. You have to move forward and you have to allow yourself to heal, but you have to trust again. You have to trust each other. You have to trust that new partner. You see the comparison, you see the metaphor. So that's how a lot of you have been operating. And that's another example of polarity, right? Of not trusting, and how you've separated yourself. But you can trust that new situation in person. Maybe that's why the last situation or timeline that you were on or in didn't work out because there was a lack of trust. That lack of trust can hurt. Don't mind my cat, everyone. He's just chiming in. Let me just take a couple more deep breaths and see what else comes through. We want you to know that you are so loved. You're so loved. And some of you might be wondering what kind of timeline and sort of ascension period we are in as the Lyrans, as these Lyran beings who are being channeled. As established already, but just to reiterate, we are sitting within what you would call 6th density. Well, a lot of spiritual leaders are calling 6th density right now. Or if you compare it and measure it to the chakra system, that third eye, okay? This is why we are able to telepathically connect with more of you very efficiently. And of course, humanity is sitting here in the 4th density, heart chakra, 4th chakra. This is why you're able to make the connection with us more so now, because now you can see the physical world and you can see the non-physical world, more spiritual, more what's hidden, what's been even kept from you, and what you know to be true in the physical down here. But both are true. Both the non-physical and physical are just as real. Both are true. And you are awakening more to this. Each and every one of you. It gets deeper and deeper, more intricate, more feeling connected, more feeling unified. That is that feeling and that resistance that so many of you, most all of you, have had through most of your life is because of this imbalance you've had where you've been sitting timeline-wise, where you've come from, that 3rd density, where it was all just about the physical and survival mode. This we really want to bring up with a lot of you is survival mode. It is a difficult thing to break free from when you've been in this space, that lower chakra, we'll call it space in comparison. But many of you are figuring out, which is why you see new currency systems emerging, why you see more debates happening more than ever about equality, value, equality. And just the term equality, it's more of a thing in your world now, is it not? Okay, because you are breaking free from that 3rd density, from that survival mode that you've been operating in for many, many, many years, a long time. You're getting your first taste. It's a big leap. We commend all of you. You've actually been doing really well, especially those of you who are tuning in here now and connecting to these higher frequencies and messages. So we just want to commend you. But that survival mode is being broken. See, and you're in this heart space 4th density where you are getting more of the downloads and a taste and real sense of the divine, of spirit, of the non-physical. You see? Channeling, like Joshua here has written about recently in his blog about telepathic experiences, is very much the same thing as telepathy. Okay, so channeling like this is very similar to what you're all going to be doing. What you all have been doing, maybe in small ways. Telepathy is your new form of communication that matches the new ascension that is taking place from 3rd density to 4th density. You see, everything has to evolve and change and grow. So your communication must. It's one of the first things that must change and evolve and grow. Outside, of course, of definitely working on the imbalance of the ego in survival mode and that hierarchical toxicity. But you're doing well at moving past a lot of these, even though it may seem like in your news and in your world there's still this dominance and imbalance. It's the last sort of grab for power, you see. And it's not just outside forces trying to hold on to this power, trying to hold on, literally hold on to the ego, to 3rd density, to that space, to that timeline, trying to hold on to it. It's not just outside forces, it's you. A lot of you have been creating your own resistance, too afraid to break out of that mindset, that pattern, too afraid to try to communicate differently, too afraid to embrace those physical signs and those spiritual signs and nudges you've been getting, to those energetic feels and feelings you've been getting. Your own resistance to the changes which you know feel better, are better for you and for the world. A lot of you resist because it is unfamiliar, because it is different, because it does ask you to trust. You have to equally trust yourself and others. Back to trust, you see. And you're at such a profound place of equality. 4th density, heart chakra being the midpoint between everything you see. It connects this and this. Some of you might wonder, well, what do extraterrestrial beings or higher beings want with Earth? Do they want anything else from us, from you? Are we going to take advantage? No, we don't need to take advantage. We don't want to do that. We have done that in the past, and we are sorry for it. Our previous generations, as you would call them, have made mistakes like yours have, and we're not repeating that. We have grown just as you have grown. But if you ask what we really want from Earth, how we want to come together, how we want to benefit from each other, it's because you're in this new time space, the heart place, that 4th density. You are able to connect as above, so below, in such a beautiful and efficient way. And some of us have lost that where we're at. So there are many sort of dimensions, if you will, or parallel realities, higher beings, even lower beings, who will want to connect with you in this new age that you're in. Some of you identify this fourth density and heart chakra space as the Aquarius and Leo age. It is all the same thing, all talking about the same thing. But other races, other star systems, other beings want to connect with you now because you are a unified point for all of us in the galactic star community, but also for yourself, which is the most important thing. You getting to that place of equality, unity, collective consciousness. And because a lot of you are awakening to this unified point and you're reaching this more and more, some of you, sure, accelerating faster than others, but you're all headed the same way to the same thing. You are raising in vibration and frequency. You're going to be operating differently, communicating more mind to mind. We just do want you to know that you don't have to be afraid of these changes, which is why we want to bring it up. You have a lot of information out there about this. A lot of you are connecting to your supernatural abilities, as you call them, your intuition, your foresight, the magic and power of sound, and just the magic and power of your mind and your heart and brain coherency. It enables you to do things that you have not done before. And those are those supernatural abilities. Yes, you can call one of them telepathy. It's already been happening. Humans already are communicating more telepathically. If you'll notice, a lot of you are actually talking less. A lot of you are reading energy more or telepathically. That's a sign. A lot of you are sending more emojis, for example, those picture symbols, rather than typed out worded texts. Emojis and images, GIFs, see how those are being used more to communicate. That's just another sign and symbol of your evolvement and breaking into more of that telepathic communication, which matches more of the ascension that you are going through, the fourth density, which you are living in more now. Remember, you are tied to the fifth density too. In the end, you're actually tied to all of it. But if you want to keep looking at it linear, you can, but really, time is circular. And if you look at yourself and dimensions and time and everything in that fashion, you see that it's all happening at the same time. That all reality, that all possibility is within the same field. This has been one of the most manipulated and difficult things that you've had to see through, that you're having to see through, that you're having to break through, is this time perception, your perception on time. The straight line versus the circle. Everything returns to source. Everything is already returned to source. We understand this is much to wrap your head around, but the more you do, just like the more you ride a bike, the more it becomes easier, the more sense it makes, the more second nature it becomes to you. Like your supernatural abilities will become second nature to you. There's this other video that Joshua did talking about the dimensions and timelines, which we're talking and touching on now. You see in that representation of the tree of life, these are clues that the mystic vegans, the vegan mystics, left for you. The tree of life, okay? It's visual. You saw in that video, and you can look on it now, or look at a picture now, you're sitting between star energy and different light codes represented by the different colors you see. You've come and been living in more of that yellow gold energy, again also represented by the solar plexus third density timeline, you see? Your sun is changing, therefore you are changing, and vice versa, you see? Your sun is growing lighter. It's becoming more white. A lot of the higher beings, higher densities that we and others come from, what you would call angels, what you would call advanced extraterrestrial beings, whatever you want to call us, gods. We come from star systems and close to stars that are lighter in color, that are more white, that are more blue and bluish white. And a lot of you who've connected with Lyra energy, with us, with your origins to Lyra, has this energy. You look at Vega, up in the sky. Vega has more of the bluish white light. That color is code. And it does talk more about ascension, being closer to source. So you see, with that pictorial, with that image, the tree of life, where you are and how the light changes, how it is changing now with your planet and your sun. You see how it all relates. You can be confident and believe the ascension is happening, that all these changes that are going on in the world outside of you, but also within you, as above, so below, that it is all related to the ascension, and that it is going somewhere. You can be confident of this. You can know this. You can be affirmed. Yes, there is more to it. It's not just one situation or two situations. It's not just a political situation. It is much more. The collective is waking up. Beautiful energy to be in. It's a beautiful dimension to be in. Little beautiful place. So much progress. Now we do understand there's a lot of resistance still going on. We understand that some of you want us to make some predictions about what is going to happen with your world, with your earth, the polarity that is playing out, with the light and dark playing out, with the outside forces, with your inside forces, with your inside narratives, with the outside narratives, what they're all saying, what they're fighting each other on. We know you want us to make predictions on all of this, where you're going to be. Is it going to end in war? Is it going to end in death? Is it going to end in life? Is it going to end in more prosperity? Is it going to end in more equality? Is it going to end in more technology? Is it going to end with ease, with beauty, with darkness, with despair? We cannot give you these predictions. Because we give you these predictions, it does create a sense of polarity. It does influence you a little bit too much. And there's always two sides, but yet, remember, two sides of the same coin. This is an excellent metaphor and image for you. There are always two sides, or two timelines, two ways or extremes that something could play out, but they're always still a part of the same thing, the same coin. Two sides, two different sides, but of the same coin, the same object, the same soul. You see? So we cannot necessarily make predictions of how it is to go, your ascension, your future. But we can give you guidance. We can give you some sort of foresight or weather forecast. But not just one-sided. We don't want you to think you're just reaching one point. You see, you have to integrate both. You have to accept and integrate both. Integration, unity. You are light, you are dark. Bad choice, good choice. Integrate. Good choice, bad choice. No, integrate. It's a choice. Trust that your lives and that your future are going to play out how they need to play out. There's been a lot of lessons in acceptance lately, the last few years on your earth. Very important. So now we want to speak to those seekers, those beautiful souls and beings who are looking for deeper information into their lineage, which you've talked a little bit about already. Listen to the signs and synchronicities that are showing up for you. You have to listen. You have to turn off the distractions, the TV, the phone. You have to listen. Breathe it in and allow yourself to see the point at which it and everything connects, including your galactic in cosmic lineage. It's always been there. You just have to breathe and listen into that center, that point of unification. You see? Coming back to it again. I'm asking what they look like. You are talking to one of the more feline looking of our Lyran race, because we know that Joshua loves the cat and felines, so yes, we are here, we are showing ourselves, we're communicating. What we look like, we do stand upright on 2 feet, we do have tails, we do have a mane much like a lion, but it's not as big as a lion's mane. We'll get back to talking to you seekers, specifically connecting with your star lineage in just a minute. It's okay. Our manes aren't quite as big as lions, but yes, we have them. Yes, there are many Lyrans who are more the embodiment of the white lion, okay? That image you see, so more of the white, more of that. It's hard to explain, really, in your term and definition of color, okay? Because your color spectrum is also going to expand as you rise in ascension. But you could relate it to neon type colors. More neon. Just brighter and lighter, you see? Yes, we have very much similar eyes to cats. Not quite the same, but similar. They look a little kinder, actually. We know some of you see cats on Earth and you see their eyes as being a little too scary or evil. Our eyes, you look at them, you feel a little bit more at peace. Okay, it doesn't look scary like some of you think cats' eyes on Earth look. Yes, you're picking up, a lot of us Lyran beings, and especially the feline beings, get these glowing tattoos. They are something we give ourselves, like tattoos. There's a little bit more reason and depth behind those tattoos. We're not going to go into it right now. We're going to keep the physical features a little more simple, okay? But there's reason and rhyme behind those glowing tattoos. Light. You see, the more you rise with your ascension, the closer you get to light. And we talked about sitting in between the lights, the stars, and the different frequencies and codes the colors represent, and the codes and frequencies that you receive from those light sources. As you rise in ascension, your physical body changes too, which many of you on Earth are experiencing physical symptoms. More migraines, more headaches, more allergies. Some of you, your eyes are changing. This is one of the first things to change. Your eyes. But some of you might experience some other physical symptoms and changes, yes, because you are rising in ascension and you are that much closer to light. So like us in our physical description and how the mane is flowing almost like light waves. The glowing tattoos and just our overall aura and body, why we are lighter, why you are growing lighter, it's because you're moving closer to source. Literally, those stars light. You grow lighter, you see. So you'll see that reflected in your physicality. And because you are growing lighter, like us, you will also ingest, you will eat lighter. You will be eating lighter. You won't need to ingest so much food. See, higher density beings, as you call us, we pull a lot of the nutrients that our physical bodies need from space, from the air, from the elements, you might say. We just pull that into us like a sponge. We don't have to ingest and eat as much. And that's the same with you. That's why a lot of you people are moving towards those plant-based diets. It allows more moderation and less. And it's lighter, you see? You see the whole lightness connection. So, to you Starseeds, to you Lyra souls who are seeking a connection with us, we love you, we feel you. To those of you who are here and you connect maybe a little bit more with some of the other star systems like Pleiades, Orion, Sirius, and the 12 zodiacs. We love you. And upon your journey of self-discovery and awareness, we want to say also, not only listening to those signs and synchronicities, listen to your body cues. You have to listen to your body cues a little bit more. You have to become more aware of your body cues. When you cringe up, when you tense, when your shoulders raise, when they lower. When your hands fidget, when your eyes twitch, when you get butterflies in your stomach, when your stomach churns, when your knees go weak, when they're strong, you need to pay attention more to your body cues. Your spirit speaks through you. So make the correlation to that language, to those signs that will tell you what is in your environment that you need to stay away from, that you need to connect to. Honor what you need distance from, and honor what you need closeness to. Your body tells you, listen to your body. Do not worry about repercussions. Do not fall into fear like that. Listen to your body and then act accordingly. If you're being told by your body, do not eat that, do not be so close to that person. If your body says, yes, I need to be close to that person, and it's based on mutual respect, integrity, then of course, be close to that person. They will want to be close to you too. You already know this with your connections and relationships you've developed and learned from. Okay, but bring the awareness in, make it more intricate, make it more aware. So when you feel like you need to be close to a person, you be close to them. You reach out to them. You connect with them. When you need the distance, you need the separation from that other person, that food, whatever it is. You do it. You listen to your body. Do you get tense? Does your heart flutter? Do you get the stomach churning? You have to listen. And it will help you. It will point you in the right direction. It will connect you with the right energy, with the right person who has the information you need, the right energy and feeling that you need. You see, to heal, to apply it to yourself, your aura, your life. And what is toxic for you? You must become more aware of all this. And many of you are. We want to congratulate and honor a lot of you. Because you are doing really well. You really are. You know, meditation is just another excellent way that you starseeds and seekers who are seeking deeper meditation in connecting with us, trusting the messages in meditation that you get from your Lyran family, from your Syrian family, whoever it is. You just have to trust yourself. You see how we're getting back to that again? You want some physical items. I see many of you still living in the survival mode, in that density where it's all about the physical. Okay, so you think you need something physical to help facilitate this connection, to talk to us. Okay, then we'll give you some physical. But we don't want you to be dependent on it. You already know crystals, our vegan system, a very beautiful vegan system that grew spiritually and grew closer to source, to spirit, depended on these magical items and tools, crystals, wands, but to their detriment. So you see, just in brief, we want to tell you, be careful. Do not become dependent on one view. You see? One side, one thing, an external force. Because it's all within you. Crystals, quartz, gold. Yes, we know that one's expensive. Silver. More time in the sunlight. Okay, but also plant medicine. You think it's just coincidence that cannabis was legalized and made available to you? You think that it's coincidence that mushrooms and such other plants and items are becoming more available, that rights for them to be legalized is happening? That more people are experimenting with this? No, no coincidence. These plant medicines connect you within, connect you to source, allow you to connect collectively. So you want to connect with us more. We do not get dependent or use drugs or plant medicines or crystals or anything else as an escape. Do not use it as an escape. You still have to live in your reality. And do not abuse it or become dependent on it. You don't have to have it to connect to us, to connect to each other, to ascend and grow into a more beautiful and positive and loving vibration. You don't have to have it. But again, we understand you are breaking out of a physical timeline where you think you have to have something physical for it to be real. You think that this connection and communication, in order for it to be legitimate and real, that you need something physical. You need the cards. You need the cards because it's physical, therefore you can trust it more. No. You see? You see? But we do understand. You can use plant medicine to help you, to facilitate more of this connection. You can use crystals. You can use cards. You can use the earth and sunlight. You see? Just do not become dependent You must have balance. We do want to touch on healing real quick. We do want to touch on healing. You need to give yourself time and patience. Don't think of time as linear, because then that throws you off and it throws you into fear and it gets you frustrated. You don't have to heal or understand or know by a certain time point. You don't have to heal in a week or in a month in order to be worth more, in order to be more valued, in order to have that better job, in order to have that better relationship. Stop looking at healing and everything, really, as a fixed linear time frame. And by doing this, you will heal faster. Many of you are and will be making more of this connection, and you're going to be able to heal fast. You will not need medication in these treatments that you have now for disease. Disease should not exist on your planet. You allowed it to. Dis-ease is something that the old system is having a hard time letting go of, because it was something that they could control, see, with their medicines and whatnot, but then not always, right? They wanted something to control. That is also, you're letting that go. You will not need that. You won't need medicine. You will be able to self-heal. The diseases are going to go away. That's not to say that you can't get wounded from external events, you know, if you were to be shot or something. But all of that will be lessening too, because you are ascending. You're coming to this heart chakra space of more love and understanding. So even that stuff, like murder and killing, that will become less. That is, yes, we will share with you a part of your timeline and being in this space. And again, diseases, those are to go away. Again, it doesn't say you won't die from this physical body anyways. Of course your spirit lives on. But dis-ease, we want you to be encouraged. That is going away. You're going to look at it and be like, how is this ever a thing? How did we ever deal with this? Why did we deal with this? Why did we put up with disease? So that is a beautiful thing. If you want an astrological resource to back up the practicality or logic of this, sure. Look at how Uranus is in Taurus. And the correlation, what does that represent? The physical Taurus. It represents value, it represents earth, nourishment, foods, medicine, how you've been taking medicine, physical. You see? You see how it's all connected. There's so much we can share with you and so much more. But we think we are coming to a close. There needs to be a rest here. Trust yourself. Heal the polarity within you, and then externally without you, in your environment. It will begin to reflect and heal more too. But yes, send love to yourself. That is the unifier. It's really the unifier of all things. Many of you know this already. But you have to find the unity point of true love from this polarity mindset that has kept you segregated and fighting, and is what has created so much disharmony within your world. Integrate. It doesn't mean, integration and unity does not mean that you lose your sense of self. You are still you. You are still unique. But you are also whole. You are also a part of everything and everyone. You have to start feeling this. We know many of you, especially watching, yes, you're starting to feel this more. You can hear it, and it doesn't make the same kind of sense. You can't quite make sense of it because you're just hearing it. And that's logical processing. You have to feel it. You have to embrace, right, the other side. Logical and illogical. Again, duality. And then unity, yeah? Feminine and masculine as well. Heal this. We want you to know that there are challenges coming up ahead. But you are also free. You are more free than ever before. You are more free from your own limitations, your own programming that you've been trapped in. But you are also more free from the external forces which may be trying to apply more pressure to you right now. There may be some more pushback, but it's because they see that you are becoming, that you are more free. You are more free than you perceptually maybe believe. But this freedom and ascension that comes with that freedom, and vice versa, there is, of course, a little bit more responsibility. But we want to say, give yourself time. And remember, by giving yourself time, you're actually making things manifest faster. Yes, there are challenges, but you are more free than you realize. This is just a key wisdom we want to give you. We'll just leave it there. asking about the timelines, where you are at going, especially with your technological advances. We see you're curious about that. You do not need to fear it. See, there are two narratives of making everything about the AI, the artificial intelligence, and the increase in awareness through the use of technology, but you do not have to fear it, and you do not have to completely fall in line with it. It can be technology and artificial intelligence a useful tool. But you just can't get overly fixated. You don't want to get overly fixated. If you don't trust that the artificial intelligence and new technology will be in balance and will work with you and will help you and will be all okay, well, then it won't be. So again, we come back to trust. You have to trust. You fear that timeline, some of you, of the artificial intelligence taking over, or someone using artificial intelligence to restrict and control and create disharmony. But you have to fix your trust. You need to start trusting that what you have and where you're going is for the benefit of all, and that there's a place for everything, light and dark. That there's a place for you and there's a place for everything. Letting go of the fear. Letting go of the fear. Some simple things that can help you let go of this fear, which so distracts you from all of this and all of this ascension progress, is go outside, ground. Bring yourself back into peace. Naturally, as natural as possible. Grounding, bare feet on the earth. Meditation. Breathing in natural fragrances, plants. Plant medicine, sure, can be used, but again, dependency, no. Remember, you are connected to all things. You will feel this more and more, and it will seem a little scary. It has seemed scary to some of you, even because it's so vast when you realize you're connected to oneness, that you are all unified. It's vast. You have been a little narrow, you see? So you feel like you're drowning because it's so vast. You thought you were just in your tub, in the comfort of your own tub, but in reality you are in this big ocean. You see? So you're scared. It's much safer being in a little tub of water than it is being in a big tub of water called the ocean, the sea. You see this metaphor? Trust the process. You are elevating, you are ascending. So therefore your psychology and your body is changing too. This is natural. When in doubt, go back to love and play. consider that your safe spot. But not just your safe spot, it's also where you open up. It's also where you are open and brave. Where you explore without fear. The love and play. Remember love and play. You start getting too fearful, everything starts getting overwhelming. Go back to that place, whatever vibrationally gets you aligned and feeling love, play. Yes, like a kid. Play. Do what makes you feel alive. Enjoy what is fun. And then who and what brings you love. So, this is where we conclude for now. Much love. You are doing well. Trust yourself. Ooh. Okay. So those were the channeled messages. Whee! Gosh. And this was a little longer than I intended it for it to be, but that was a lot of information and processing that I had to do and channel there. So yeah, thanks guys. Y'all were the first audience to see my first live pre-recorded channeling. It's honestly not that different from tarot and using runestones and other and using whatchamacallit, divination systems, you know, in general. It's not really any different. It's so strange to be able to say that and feel it like with confidence. But yeah. And if you're wondering, because I know I wondered this before I started, you know, getting more intuitive and channeling like this. If you're wondering, do I lose myself when channeling messages? No, like I'm still coherent, you know, while translating what they're saying. I mean, you see some psychics and channelers who have these different voices and almost personalities when they channel. I don't think I don't do that much. Sometimes, like I'm self-aware enough to see that sometimes like my voice changes or shifts, but it's I guess what I'm saying is why other channelers, psychics, have a more distinguished personality or different personality or whatever is because of that, the specific being and frequency they're channeling, you know. And it's just I guess how they express it, for lack of better words right now. I don't necessarily feel like I have to do that. Not that they feel like they have to, I don't know, but I can't speak for them, I guess. But yeah. But sometimes that's kind of the thinking, I guess, behind it. But yeah, woo! I'm gonna leave it at this. I will be channeling more in the future. I'm sure I'll be channeling again soon. And I will not just be channeling, but doing some readings that involve, you know, the tarot and the cards. I am still going to use the cards, at least to initiate and facilitate. But also maybe just some plain Jane channeling, you know? It's about time a lot of us get more acquainted with our cosmic roots and cosmic family. And yeah, so I guess that's that. I don't have much else to say about it. Their presence feels, you know, beautiful. And there's not really an ego with them, even though they know they're like a higher ascension, they have a higher level of knowledge and awareness. They don't like look at us or judge us the way we're programmed to judge, you know, and look at other people in a hierarchical fashion. Oh, you don't know this, or you don't have this knowledge, or didn't go to this school, or didn't have this upbringing, which means you're less, which means you're stupid. They don't have that. So that's really interesting, and different from humans, right? So, yeah. Anyways, this video is long, so I'm going to go ahead and call it quits. Thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope this gives you validation, affirmation, and brings you a little closer to the Lyra system and Lyrans, and to all the other beings that are out there and that are benevolent, and who are just simply wanting to connect, like with a friend. So, yeah. Cheers. Talk to you soon.